Hey everybody, I decided to make this video because our good pal Jaxy Waxy is not doing as good as I thought he would be doing this patch. I looked into it and it's actually pretty obvious what's going on. Now, for those of you who don't know, the point of these videos is to go over a champion that's not being built correctly, to tell you guys how to build them correctly, but to separate this from other videos that are just going to say, build this on this champion, we're going to tell you why you're doing that. So you can actually learn something and you can go away from this video, not just having a robotic build this item on Jax. And, you know, anytime these items change or anytime the meta changes or stuff like that, you'll actually be able to understand, you know, maybe we need to build a different item. Why do we build different items? And you'll be able to come away from this video a little smarter. I think that's a thing that I do in these videos that separates them from other such videos. Now, as always, you can use this video as a podcast or you can watch along. This one's going to be a little bit more fun because it's actually pretty obvious why people are doing bad on Jax, but I thought, again, you know, maybe we have fun with this one and I show you guys what's going on because there's some things about Jax that a lot of you guys just don't get. So, as always, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to leave a comment down below, and make sure to give feedback if you want. Your feedback helps me make these videos better, and each time I think we're doing a little bit better. So I would appreciate that in advance if that's what you guys do for me. So thank you, everybody. Now, let's go on to Jax. This should be pretty obvious pretty fast. I think even the slowest of you will get this. Trinity is better than Blade of the Ruined King, like, by far. Okay, so I want to preface this. I'm not saying that Blade of the Ruined King Rush is bad in every situation. What I do want to say is that Blade of the Ruined King is not better than Trinity in every situation. It should be much lower. In fact, it should probably be something like 70 to 80% Trinity, maybe 10% on Blade of the Ruined King. There are some matchups where Blade of the Ruined King is doing well. It's not all matchups. I also think that Hullbreaker is bad. I don't think Divine Sunder is pulling its weight anymore. And definitely those of you rushing Wit's End, what the fuck is wrong with you? So let's talk about why is Trinity better than Blade of the Ruined King. I did a little thing here. The first thing I always hear, I hear this every time this conversation comes up, but Blade of the Ruined King gives lifesteal. Isn't the lifesteal as good as 300 health? No. 10% lifesteal means you would need to deal 3,000 damage. That damage could not include your ult procs, it cannot include your W, it cannot include your counter strike, and it cannot include your leap strike. That would actually end up being, just if I had to wager, without including those elements, you'd probably have to deal somewhere around 4,000 damage because the 10% lifesteal only applies to your auto attack damage plus your item on hit damage. That's I want to say that because that's something that a lot of people don't know, that I know that going forwards, it's going to be really useful to tell you guys. Lifesteal applies to on-hit from items. Lifesteal does not apply to on-hit from champions. So, for example, Jax's ultimate, no lifesteal. Blade of the Ruined King's on-hit, lifesteal. Trinity's on-hit, lifesteal. Okay? Wit's End lifesteal. Wit's End actually also gets lifestealed. So, that's just something going forward. Okay. So you would need to deal an absolutely unrealistic amount of damage in order to get the same health. Now, let's draw a little paint drawing here because I think it might be useful to help you guys visualize this. I've done something similar to this in the past, so if you've seen this, don't everyone act surprised like you've never seen me draw this example before, okay? So imagine over here you have Jax. Oh, actually, I should have made him purple. Okay, we're gonna go back because I want to make him purple. Okay, so imagine over here you have Jax, and this is going to be his health bar. Now, if Jax's health bar is full of good, globby green goodness, he's fine. But if instead he's dead, then he's dead. Does everybody get that? Okay, good. Now, here's where you guys make little bits of mistake. If you have 300 health, then you have this little bit of health. Do you see that? You still have this little bit of health there, and you can continue to fight. Jax, as a sustained damage champion, tends to do his damage over time. Other champions do their damage up front because they would burst, and Jax does sustained damage. So even though 300 health might not feel like the most, As we can clearly see here, statistically, there are situations where Jax could die that he doesn't die because of the health, and then his massive sustained damage will kick in and kill people. The second thing I want to say here is 20 ability haste is 17% cooldown reduction. Trinity has cooldown reduction. Blight of the Run King does not have cooldown reduction. Despite the fact that Jax probably wants less cooldown reduction than some other champions, he still wants cooldown reduction. We can even see here that the few times that he can build the cooldown reduction boots, its win rate is substantial. Now, I'm not suggesting you do build it all the time or even some of the time, but when it's a perfect time to build it, that cooldown reduction does really well. So, remember on Jax, his abilities. He's got a leap strike, that's a gap closer. He's got his W, that's damage. He's got his E, that's survivability. When your gap closer and your survivability are on cooldowns, that means you get more mobility and you get more survivability by building ability haste. That means, in other words, Trinity gives you ability haste, which gives you survivability. Everybody got that? So, it gives you health, survivability, it gives you ability haste, survivability. Blight of the Run King does none of this. Now, Blight of the Run King does have that siphon, the slow and movement speed boost, and I'm not discounting Blight of the Run King. I think it's a very good item. However, I think it's a very good item second. I think first, Trinity, in most situations, outperforms it. Now, again, I do think first item Blight of the Run King has its reasons for being picked. Third thing, and I'll write this here, Trinity, hold on, let me try it, kills turrets. Now, this leads into my second argument. You don't need to go Blight of the Run King second. Actually, you don't need to. You could go Hullbreaker second. Now, if you go Trinity into a Hullbreaker, that's a lot more advantageous, don't you think? Because now you've got an item that gives you hella turret killing capabilities, and then you got another item that gives you also hella turret killing capabilities. Ask any York player. Once you get these two items, they are very, very effective. Now, we're not going to be focusing on the entirety of Jax's everything. I really just want to compare these two items because clearly, with a 44% pick rate, a lot of you are very convinced into this Blight of the Run King rush, which I am not convinced and I think is holding him back considerably. So, in fact, we can go with another one here. Blade is not a mythic. Now, what do I mean by that? Blade is not a mythic. You can go Blight of the Run King into Trinity, but then you're going Blight of the Run King into Trinity. Trinity, on the other hand, can go Trinity into Hullbreaker, into Distance, and oh wait, do you see how he didn't need to build the Blight of the Run King in this build? It's flexible. Once you go Blight of the Run King, you are forced into going second item Trinity. That means if you go Blight of the Run King and hard win your lane, you can't really go second item Hullbreaker and start split pushing. The lack of a mythic and its bonus and all those things will start slowing you down. Jax isn't the sort of champion that has some crazy synergy with items. There are some champions like Urgot who just have such insane synergy with some legendaries that they can skip their mythic until third or fourth. Jax actually does really well with Trinity. And he doesn't, like, he does okay with Blight of the Run King. It's not bad, but clearly he does need a mythic at some point. Now, if you're putting your mythic off to third item, you're putting out a lot of the power of your kit. The Trinity, if you remember here, Jax got buffed a while ago. And actually, let me show you guys that. Jax did get buffed a while ago. Was it last season? Yes, it was early last season. The attack damage growth on his kit was increased by nearly 1 per level. Jax now has 140 damage at level 18. This puts him amongst the highest in the game. Now, for those of you guys who think that's weird, Jax always had some of the highest attack damage in the game. It got power creeped bad by time. They started buffing every champion's level 18 damage, and Jax always had some of the highest in the game. Like, go back to season 2, I think he was like top 5. Now he's down here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's at 10th. So before they buffed him, and he was sitting at like, I think it was like 120 or 123 or some low number. Like, it was bad. But now he's back up here. And remember, Divine Slenderer deals damage based on their health. Trinity deals damage based on your base AD. So Trinity has hella synergy with Jax. Those of you who've been playing Jax for 10 years, you probably know Trinity has just always been synergistic. And with this buff to Jax's base damage over here. It just brings Trinity back. This happened last season, just brings Trinity back into being crazy synergistic with him. So, if we look at Jax as well, there's actually a pretty solid item build, at least in my opinion, that I'm seeing happening here. So long as Hullbreaker isn't nerfed, so long as it's still good, you can easily do Trinity Force into Hullbreaker, into Steric's Gauge, into Death's Dance, into Wit's End, and do you notice how all these items kind of flow well? The Blade of the Ruined King is really good, and I'm not saying you shouldn't go Blade of the Ruined King, but I'm saying that there's clearly a build here that can flow off a Trinity start where you can diversify your build, go with different options, and you can't do that with the Blade of the Ruined King rush. I'm really hoping this all makes sense, because it's basically it. That's basically this entire video and this argument. I might go a little bit more into it, but yeah, my argument here, Trinity is better than Blade of the Ruined King. Now, just I'll be fair. If Trinity goes up in pick rate and Blade of the Ruined King goes down in pick rate, Blade of the Ruined King's win rate will go up. The less picked an item is and the more people only build it in niche situations, the better it will do. The more picked an item is and the more people are just first iteming it into every situation, the worse it will do. So these items are a little bit closer than I think people are making it out to be, but definitely they are, I definitely think that Trinity overall is doing better. Now, I was one of the few people, let me actually just pull out Trinity Force here. I was one of the few people that when I looked at Trinity Force and I looked at its changes, I looked at these and I thought, this item actually might be better now. A lot of people looked at this nerf to the base damage. They nerfed it from 4% base AD per stack, or they nerfed it from 6% to 4%, so at max stacks they nerfed it to 30% from 20%. Here's the thing. They gave it 100 more HP. You can see it right here. They give it 100 more HP, and guys, you don't need to murder people's entire existence. You don't need to murder their entire family line. You just need to kill them. All you need to do is kill someone one time. That health, as I'm showing you here, that health gave him more health. That was always why Divine Sunderer was better. He gets more health, so he can survive to do his damage more, okay? Then, he gets less damage on hit, but here's the thing, here's what you have to remember, is that how many times do you really hit a champion 6 times and then continue to hit them? How often does that truly happen? In a team fight, once you're comboing on your 3rd or 4th kill, maybe, I guess, but that's a pretty rare situation. You should probably build for the game that's going to happen and not the one that's going to happen in your imagination. In Fantasyland, maybe you hit a champion 6 times, get the kill, move on to the next champion, burst them down because, oh, you've got so much. That could happen, hypothetically. What could also happen is you could just die instantly because you built Blade of the Ruined King first and you just die because you have less mobility, because you have less survivability, because you have less health, and you just die. Would you rather be in a second Counter-Strike, or would you rather have done slightly more damage? I'd rather be in that second Counter-Strike myself. I'd rather look like this than be dead. Okay, so the third thing I want to say this one, Trinity did get better as compared to the other items, because Trinity was the only item that just had its base stats flat buffed. Divine Sunderer lost 100 HP for 5 damage, which is a nerf. Gore Drinker lost 100 HP, or no, 150 HP for 10 damage, which is a slight nerf still. Stridebreaker didn't get nerfed, but Trinity is the only one that just gained HP. It does less damage with max stacks, but it's the only item that just, before you do anything, it's the only one that just got buffed. So as compared to the other mythics, it did get buffed. This puts Jax in a position where this item will do better, and he will do better because he didn't get nerfed if he uses Trinity. So this is my argument, and this is what I want you guys to do. On Jax, do your normal Jax builds, maybe Hullbreaker's second, maybe a Distance, a Wit's End. He's got lots of options, okay? But instead of rushing Blade of the Ruined King first into every single matchup, don't do that. Start going Trinity. Save that Blade of the Ruined King rush for matchups where you absolutely need it. And remember that 300 HP is going to be a lot more useful than 10% lifesteal. Now, I do want to say this. The last thing I want to talk about is this item, Hearthbound Axe. Why? Because of Vampiric Scepter. A lot of people will say, well, Bladed King Rush is better because you can get Vampiric and sustain through the laning phase. Hypothetically, if people let you stand on the minion wave and auto attack it a lot, which, let's be honest, that rarely happens. Most people are trying to poke you, and the amount of health you'll get from repeatedly hitting the minions will almost never outpace the amount of damage you're receiving from getting poked. Hearthbound Axe, which only costs 100 more gold than Vampiric at this point, gives the same damage and 15% attack speed and 20 bonus movement speed. This helps you actually kill people, which is pretty important for a champion whose 90% of their laning strategy is jump on people and attack them because you can't farm as well because you have no way to farm from range. The other thing is obviously Sheen. Sheen is a huge part of Trinity, and it is a huge part of Jax. When you're going Vampiric and you're not going Sheen, that is a very large decrease to your damage. Jax has, once again, very large base damage that makes Sheen a very high damage item. Do not sleep on the Sheen, do not sleep on the Hearthbound Axe, do sleep on the Kindle Gem. But these two items are pretty effective, particularly for the laning phase, for just murdering people. So again, just do this on Jax. I promise you, if we work together and we get everyone to start playing Jax correctly and you start building Trinity instead of Bladed King Rush, I promise you we can get this win rate back to 50%. We might even be able to get it to 51%. But at the very least, we can get this guy back in the top 10 and we can get him to 50% win rate where he belongs. Because he should not be down here. You guys are fucking it up and you're trolling your team with this shit, okay? So, that's the video. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, all that stuff. Special thank you to all my Patreon supporters. You can see the link is in the description. For as little as $3 a month, you can continue to support this channel and continue to help me make more videos like this. So once again, thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye, everybody.